Today on The Young and the Restless, Adam has run-ins with both Billy and Tucker. Diane and Jack learn Kyle was fired, and Billy spies Phyllis meeting with Tucker. At the Abbott mansion, Kyle tells Diane he's off to Newman Media. She wonders why he's not wearing a suit. Kyle admits he's going to clear out his office. Nikki terminated him. Diane realizes his fling with Audra Charles cost him his job. Diane sits Kyle down and asks, "What now?" Kyle hasn't figured it out. Maybe he'll live a life of leisure with Harrison. Diane feels he needs direction and purpose. Kyle will have it again when the right opportunity comes along. Diane urges him to come back to Jabut. Kyle knows Jack would love to stick him in some low-level position. He'll only come back if he can replace Billy as co-CEO. Diane says that in that case I wouldn't start packing for the tropics just yet. Tucker greets Audra in the jazz lounge and they sit down together. She wants to be sure he knows their last conversation was not an invitation to revisit anything. Tucker's been thinking about her on a karmic level. She's intrigued. Tucker wants to talk about her comment about possibly jumping ship at Newman to join him at Jabut once he takes it away from Jack and Billy. Audra doesn't recall saying that. She talked about keeping her options open. Tucker asks how confident she is in her future there. Audra notes that Nikki could decide any minute that she's out of her company, but until then she has no reason to walk away. Tucker says, "Your loss." Audra asks if his little plan works out. What exactly does he see her doing? Tucker assures Audra it would be high-powered and prestigious. He's not really interested in running Jabut himself. He'd maybe be an advisor. He just wants to punish the Abbotts and hit them where it hurts. They've shattered any chance with Ashley he might have in the future. He knows they suspect he's coming after them, but he has a secret weapon, Billy Abbott. In the park, Jack is taken aback when Phyllis greets him. He has no interest in making small talk with her, or any talk really. They are miles past any hope of reconciliation, and he isn't interested in assuaging her guilt. They had one thing left between them. His son was married to her daughter, and she obliterated that as well, leaving us nothing. Phyllis gets it, but she has something to say to Jack. "I understand what you're saying, and I know I screwed up. More than screwed up, but I'm trying really hard to change." Jack thinks that's the least she could do. For Summer and Daniel's sake, he hopes she can turn things around, but he doesn't see any signs of this trying. Phyllis vows she'll make it happen. Jack said goodbye to her at her memorial service, and as far as he's concerned, she's still dead. As Jack walks off, Daniel comes up to Phyllis and says, "Whoa, that was rough." Daniel admits he felt like confronting Jack for speaking to his mother like that, but she had it coming. Phyllis admits it hurts her feelings. Daniel thinks she needs something positive and productive to focus on. Phyllis reports that she was collateral damage in the shakeup at Newman. Daniel says she can't seem to catch a break. I wonder why that is. Guiding light cast, then and now. At Society, Billy wants to join Adam, who says, "No." Billy sits down anyway and says, "I heard you lost your job again." He knows how that goes. Adam asks what he wants. Billy says, "Help, maybe." Adam chuckles. Billy wants to revisit the damaging information he has on Tucker McCall and is wondering what his price may be. Billy and Adam go over Ashley and Tucker's split, and Adam muses that McCall is probably back for revenge. He asks what Billy is proposing to offer him for the information. Billy still wants to know what it is or how damaging it is to him. Otherwise, he can't possibly know what it's worth. Adam questions getting into anything like this with Billy. "I have turned a major personal corner. I'm going modest for a change. I'm going to start at Newman at the bottom and work my way up." Billy bursts out laughing. "Don't tell me Victor actually bought that. From one chronic screw up to another, that's not going to happen." He suggests Adam stop posturing and tell him what his price is so they can move on. In the park, Phyllis is tired of defending herself to people who don't believe she can get better and change. Daniel notes some of them have been hearing it for decades. Faking her death kind of ruined her credibility. Phyllis can't take it back. She complains the insurance company is hounding her for the money Stark stole. She has no idea where he stashed it. People stare at her like the town pariah and she's just waiting for the next gut punch. Maybe she should have just left town and started somewhere new. Daniel scoffs at the idea of her leaving him in summer again. "You're staying here, you're not going anywhere." He asks how she could bail out when she has a brand new job to start. Come work with me at Omegasphere. Phyllis is stunned that her son is offering her a job and tells him he doesn't owe her any favors. Daniel assures her she's more than talented enough to do what he's found for her to do. He warns she won't get preferential treatment because she's his mother. Just prove to me and everyone else that you can walk this walk. Once she starts drawing a paycheck, she can set up a repayment plan with the insurance company. Phyllis flashes to Tucker, chuckling at her, saying she'll pay back the money by getting a job and that it will take 10 years. Phyllis tells Daniel she'll think about it. Daniel suggests she think about stopping getting in her own way and walks off. Jack finds Diane and Kyle on the sofa in the Abbott living room. Kyle breaks the news that Nikki let him go from Newman Media. He doesn't want to talk about what happened. Jack tries to control himself from asking questions, but he wants to know if Kyle is ready to come back to the family business. Kyle says, "That depends. Are you ready to bring me back as co-CEO?" Jack tells Kyle that things haven't reached that point with Billy yet. Kyle decides they shouldn't be having the conversation then and leaves. Jack thinks their son has lost his sense of patience. Diane admits she gave him hope. What's there to think about? If Billy leaves, Kyle comes back, and we get to work with our son again, so what is there really left to consider? Jack gulps. At Society, Billy gets irritated that Adam won't work out a deal with him. Adam insists he's changed, but Billy's not buying it. He decides the information on Tucker isn't worth the headache Adam's giving him and walks out. He passes Tucker, who reminds him he texted him to meet. Billy snarks, "Must have been someone else," and keeps going out the door. Tucker greets Adam and they banter. Adam gets up to leave, but Tucker urges him to stay. Adam asks, "Is there something you wanted?" Tucker says, "Always," and asks about the tension between him and Billy. Adam says they'll never be able to peacefully coexist. "What is it to you, though, if you don't mind me asking?" He guesses McCall is pissed off and planning to go after the Abbotts. At the GTAC, Billy questions Audra about Tucker. She asks why he'd fill her in on his plans. Billy states that he has an agenda, and he needs to know what that is. Audra says he may be right, but it has nothing to do with her. Billy decides to give her a little piece of advice and warns her to protect herself and stay on the right side of this. Audra sarcastically thanks him for caring and walks off. Kyle arrives at the GCAC, spots Audra at a table, and flashes to her firing him in the park and telling him it's over on all counts. He walks over and she says hello. Kyle tells her that her assistant told him she was here. Audra asks how he's doing. Kyle says he's okay and asks to sit down if it won't jeopardize her job. Audra thinks they should talk. She asks if he's blaming her for what happened. Kyle doesn't blame her. She had no choice. Audra asks what's with the sudden edge in his voice. She doesn't appreciate it. Kyle's just surprised how quickly she can turn off her feelings. Audra thinks he's talking like they had some storybook romance. They had fun, the sex was great, and now they're moving on with their lives. Kyle says, "I see." Audra's sure his pride has taken a hit, but his heart's just fine. The love of his life is Summer. Kyle insists there's no hope in them finding their way back to each other. Audra's sorry for him. This was just about him trying to forget how much Summer means to him. She thinks if he digs deep, he'll realize he misses her more than he wants to admit. In the park, Phyllis agonizes as she flashes to Tucker's offer to pay her $2.2 million for her help. She decides she has no choice. "I have to do this. But after this, never again. Never again, I swear. Never again, I swear to God. After this, I'm done." She texts Tucker that she's ready and on her way. At Society, Adam notes Tucker had the shortest honeymoon on record and asks what happened. Tucker wonders why he'd share that with him after he blackmailed him. Adam says he blackmailed Audra and doesn't have any animosity toward him. Tucker doesn't have any toward him either. He couldn't care less about him or his family. Tucker gets Phyllis's text and takes off. At the door of the GTAC, Phyllis comes in and passes Billy, who is crossing paths with Tucker. Tucker greets her, but she whisks past him to the bar. Billy exits, and then watches through the revolving door as Phyllis goes back up the stairs after Tucker. In Tucker's suite, he asks Phyllis if Billy saw her. Phyllis snarks that she made sure he saw her because she's stupid. She wants to get down to business. Tucker is eager for her to hack into Billy's financials, but Phyllis insists he first transfer $1 million into her account.